Let's ask former Obama campaign advisor Ameshia Cross and host of the Young Turks, former presidential candidate Cenk Uygur. It's good to have you both. Cenk is in favor, as you may know, Ameshia, of get rid of Biden and you definitely win against Trump. You still feel that way, even if it is, or if it is, Kamala Harris and whoever? Cenk.
Yeah. So first of all, we got to have an open convention, and we should pick our strongest candidate. There's no reason not to do that. Now, that might turn out to be Kamala Harris, and she would be the favorite going into the convention because she's the vice president. And if she can't win an open convention after she's the favorite, then she shouldn't be the candidate. That means she's weak.
Right.
The number one problem we had with Biden is that we didn't test them. I know, because as you pointed out, I was in the primary. They wouldn't do debates, and half the time they wouldn't even do elections. So we've got to test our candidates. Am I more happy with Kamala Harris than Joe Biden? Of course. I would take any random Democrat in the country over Joe Biden. He can barely walk and talk. But let's test our candidates and pick the best one.
Ameshia, first, personal note. When I'm talking to people in your party, your name comes up all the time when I'm talking about, like, the sophistication of the operation around Obama versus what's happening with Biden. It's just funny. I haven't had you on before, but it's funny. Your name comes up all the time. You're very well regarded, so it's good to have you on the show. So Cenk is saying Biden sucks. He's too old, and he's basically incompetent. Do you believe that that's how the voters would feel in November?
Absolutely not. I don't believe that's how the voters feel right now. We just had yesterday, 1,400 Black women, including the former first U.S. Senator, who was a Black woman, Kara Mosley Braun, signed on to a letter demanding that there not be this push to remove the Biden-Harris ticket. I think that Black voters, over 70%, who were recently polled, not only spoke of how much their disdain for Trump and his candidacy, but also this push against their votes, because it matters. They got Biden over the hill when we were in South Carolina. They also were this sizable vote and have been the vote that got the Democratic ticket over the past 45 years. So this will be a great disillusionment for the Black vote, and an ignorance, I think, to the reason why Black votes matter in this process. And I would argue that Black voters have been very sizable in their conversation about why it's important to maintain the Biden-Harris ticket, not only because of the preservation of civil rights and equity that we've seen this administration fight for, but the funding for HBCUs, what we've seen them do when it comes to their fight to protect communities of color, specifically who have been attacked by conservative policies, not only those led by Donald Trump, but also those that we've seen pushed by the Heritage Foundation. I think that the Black vote here matters specifically, and they have been tried and true for the Biden-Harris ticket.
Quick bounce, and then I want to finish with Cenk. Ameshia, I'll come right to you in a second, Cenk. I just want to get this one point of clarification. If Biden is good, why isn't Harris better when it's not just the Black vote? And I don't like that term either. I hate the monolithic value of it. I hate the idea of Black jobs. It all bothers me. But that's what we're saddled with vernacular right now. If Biden is good, why isn't Harris better, especially when it's not just Black voters, it's Black female voters, and not just Black female voters, but Black female voters who are basically the age of Harris. She's exactly who you need to win. Why isn't she better?
I don't think anybody is arguing that Kamala Harris is not a great candidate. That was one of the reasons why Joe Biden chose her in the beginning when she was chosen to be the vice president. I think that what the argument happens to be here is that what we're seeing from some of the Democratic elites, some of the people who are having these backroom conversations and are leaking things to the press, is that they not only do not want a Joe Biden ticket, they also don't want a Kamala Harris ticket. They want to have an open convention. We know that that's extremely messy. We know that it's extremely fraught. And what it would essentially do is keep a lot of Democratic voters of all colors and stripes at home come election cycle, come November, come October for early votes as well. That, I think, is a push that is extremely ignorant by certain members of the party who have stepped forward with that type of rhetoric, but also one that essentially skips over a sitting vice president. That is historically something we've never seen in this country. There's a reason why the vice president is chosen, and I think that she's the easiest path to, because she would already inherit many of the delegates who are already confirmed for the Biden-Harris ticket, but also the easiest path forward when it comes to the fundraising apparatus.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's
fact-driven coverage.